Welcome to the first lesson in an 8-part series on the 8 parts of speech. Because the parts of speech are very crucial to know as you're working on your GED, and especially if you decide to go on to college afterwards, I've decided to devote a considerable amount of attention to them. So I'm breaking this into 8 individual lessons. They will each be labeled with which part of speech we're covering. And that way, if it's just one part of speech you need help with, you'll be able to find exactly what you need. If you need everything, you can just watch these straight through. This first lesson is going to be an overview over the 8 parts of speech. Let's get started. To begin with, let's do a little game. This is a really fun little activity, well, at least I think it's fun. I call this a scrambled sentence warm-up. You can do this at home on your own. All you need to do is just pause the video when we get to the right spot. I'll tell you when. Do this on your own, and then you can start the video again when you're ready. So the way a scrambled sentence works, I have for you a bunch of words that form absolutely nothing. This makes no sense whatsoever. So your mission is to unscramble these words to form a coherent sentence. The rules are you must use every word once, and you cannot use any words more than once. So if you're wanting to participate in this, go ahead and pause the video here and pick back up when you're done. All right, I'm assuming that you paused the video if you wanted to participate in this. We're going to move on to the right answer. So if you haven't paused it, you still have a chance to go back and pause it and attempt the activity. All right, here is one possible answer you could have given. My brother and I went to the park yesterday afternoon. You also could have come up with, yesterday afternoon, my brother and I went to the park. So did you get the right answer? Let's move on to an overview of what we're covering. To begin with, on your own at home, see if you can list the 8 parts of speech, or if you can list any parts of speech. Just try it on your own really quick. And let's see if you've got them. So we've got noun, pronoun, verb, adjective, adverb, preposition, conjunction, interjection. Now, what I typically find is most people can remember the first 5 and then they get stuck on these last 3. So, if you got all 8, well done. Now, my next question is, can you give an example of each part of speech, a word that could function in that role? Think on your own. Can you think of a noun on your own at home? Well, the first noun that comes to my mind, because I'm staring at it right now, is computer. There we go. All right, what about a pronoun? Can you think of a pronoun on your own? The first one that came into my head is she. What about a verb? What would be an example of a verb? I'm going to say read or read. Depends on tense. Okay, adjective. Can you think of an example of an adjective? I went with colorful. What about an adverb? An example of an adverb. I decided to use carefully. What about a preposition? This one might be a little bit harder. Can you think of an example of a preposition? The one I thought of was under. What about a conjunction? Can you think of any conjunctions? I decided but. And what about an interjection? Think if you can try to come up with an example of an interjection. And my interjection is ouch, because I'm a klutz, so I use that one a lot. Now, if you're trying to remember the 8 parts of speech, I've got a little memory trick that you can use. It's just a silly little sentence that's kind of stupid and that makes it memorable. So I remember them with Aunt Vicky never adds pink pickles into chili. I told you, it's a stupid little sentence, but the first letter of each word can help you remember the 8 parts of speech. So again, Aunt Vicky never adds pink pickles into chili. And there we've got them. Adjective, verb, noun, adverb, pronoun, preposition, interjection, conjunction. And it doesn't matter what order you list them in. So maybe you want to make up your own sentence that you can remember to remember them, but you're welcome to borrow my stupid, silly little sentence. So next, as we give an overview, let's try to give a quick definition for each part of speech. And let's see what you already know. On your own, see if you can come up with a definition for each of these. So to start with, what is a noun? Can you define it? There's more to it than this, but if you're just giving a really quick definition, a noun is a person, place, or thing. Again, there's a little more to it. We'll look at it more in the next lesson, but just for a short, quick definition, person, place, or thing. What about a pronoun? It's not a noun that's gone professional or a noun that works for money. That was a joke. It is a word that replaces a noun. All right, what about a verb? Can you think of a quick definition for what a verb is? A verb is an action word. What about an adjective? Can you think of a definition for adjective? An adjective is a word that describes a noun. Now, you might have thought an adjective is a descriptive word, and that's true, but that definition doesn't go far enough because that also could describe an adverb. Hint. So what's an adverb? Well, an adverb is a word that describes a verb, adjective, or another adverb. All right, let's do the final 3. These 3 might not be as familiar to you. What is a preposition? How could we define that? And that is kind of hard to define a preposition. The best way I can think of to define a preposition is to say it shows the relationship between a noun or pronoun and another word in the sentence. When I was in elementary school, my 5th grade teacher used to say a preposition is anything that a mouse can be to a box. And that kind of works too as a way to remember it. More about that when we get to the preposition lesson. Okay, what about a conjunction? What is the definition of a conjunction? One of the things that's cool about conjunction is it's got the word junction inside it. So that kind of helps you remember the definition. A conjunction is used to join words or groups of words, just like a junction joins 2 things. And lastly, an interjection. How could you define an interjection? An interjection is a word that interrupts a sentence or conversation. Next, let's do a little bit of practice. So can you identify which part of speech each word represents in this sentence? Here's our sentence. Her new baby has beautiful blue eyes. So again, what I'd like you to do is try to label each word in this sentence with its part of speech. And if you need to, you might want to pause the video right here. Try to do this on your own at home, and then you can resume when you're ready to check your answers. All right, so let's look at the answers. Her, what part of speech would that be? That is a pronoun. New is an adjective. Baby is a noun. Has is a verb. Beautiful is an adjective. Blue is another adjective. And eyes, noun. Now, what makes each of these words this part of speech? Her is pronoun because her is taking the place of the name of the mother of this baby. So let's say her name is Jessica. Jessica would be a noun. We're using it in the possessive, which actually means technically it would be functioning as an adjective in the sentence, but that's a different matter. So when we replace that word with her is a pronoun. It's taking the place of a noun. New is describing the baby. The baby is new. So that's an adjective. Baby is a noun because it is a person, place, or thing. You could also, an easy trick is if you can touch it with your finger, then that's one way of knowing it's a noun. Although I don't know that I would necessarily make that a practice. Has is a verb because it's telling you something about the baby. Now, in this case, it's not what the baby's doing, but it's telling us about something the baby possesses. So you could think that the act of having or possessing in a way is kind of doing. So has is a verb. Beautiful is describing the baby's eyes. So beautiful is an adjective. Blue is also describing the eyes. Now that one could be a little tricky because some people are tempted to think of blue as being a noun. It can be if we were talking about blue as a thing, but in this case, blue is describing the color of the eyes. And then of course, eyes, they're a thing, so they're a noun. Let's do another one. All right. So our second sentence, Patrick and I went to the museum yesterday. So if you want to do this on your own at home, pause it here, and then you can come back for the answers. Patrick, what part of speech is that? Patrick is a noun. And, conjunction. I, pronoun. Went, verb. To. This one might have been hard for you, but it is a preposition. This one also might have tricked you. This is a special type of word that we're going to talk about in just a second. The is an article. And if you already knew that, congratulations, well done. Museum is a noun. And yesterday, this is another one that might have been tricky, is an adverb. So why are each of these this particular part of speech? Well, Patrick is a person, so person, place, or thing makes it a noun, and is connecting Patrick and I. It's taking those two things in the sentence and putting them together. Think of it as the junction between those two words. So it's a conjunction. I is replacing the name of whoever the speaker is, so that's a pronoun. Went is an action. We're going somewhere, so that's a verb. Now, to being a preposition. We can't say Patrick and I went to museum. That's not proper English. We need something to connect went to the museum because you're trying to show the relationship between our action and this place. That's where a preposition comes in handy. The preposition to is telling us that we went to the museum. We were specifically going in the direction of the museum. That was our destination. Depending on the preposition, it could change the relationship between went and museum. For example, if I said under, Patrick and I went under the museum yesterday. I mean, it sounds funny, but we could literally have tunneled under it. Or, Patrick and I went above the museum yesterday. Well, maybe we were in a hot air balloon. It's kind of a silly example, but the point is that went and museum need this word that's showing the relationship between the two. That's what the preposition is doing. We will talk more about prepositions later, so don't worry if prepositions are hard and you're confused. The is an article, and I'm going to explain about articles in just a few seconds, so we'll worry about that then. Museum. Museum is a place. Could also technically call it a thing, so it is a noun. And then yesterday is the other word that might have given you a little bit of trouble. So yesterday is, in fact, an adverb. And the reason it's an adverb is because it's describing when we went. It's giving further information about the verb of the sentence, and that makes it an adverb. All right, so let's turn our attention very quickly to articles. Articles, there's very little to say, so I decided not to give them their own lesson, and they're kind of sort of fall under one of the parts of speech, but it just seemed like a better thing to cover with the overview, if that makes sense. So articles, they act like an adjective in the sentence in that they always go with a noun. In English, we need articles with many of our nouns, not all of them. But the role of an article is to show whether a noun is general or specific. So we have the definite article, the, and the role that this word plays in a sentence is it is used to refer to a specific version of a noun. So there's a difference between using a, an, or the. A and an, spoiler, are also articles. If I say I want to go to a park versus I want to go to the park, there's a difference. A park just means I want to go to any park. It's indefinite. But if I said the park or the park, that would imply that there is a specific park that I have in mind. So the can be used with both countable or uncountable nouns. A countable noun is literally anything you can count. Like you can count tables, you can count tea bags, you can count oranges. But there are some things that you can't count because they don't have a firm fixed shape, like water, for example. We can't count water because basically it's something that has to be put into a container. You can count the containers, but not the water itself. We don't say, oh, look, there are 6 waters over there. So you could say the water, you could say the table. The works with countable or uncountable nouns. Indefinite articles are a and an. And so basically these are the only 3 words you really need to worry about for articles: the, a, an. The is a definite article. The indefinite articles are a or an. A and an mean the exact same thing. The only difference is we use a for a word that begins with a consonant sound. We use an for a word that begins with a vowel sound. So the indefinite articles refer to general or unspecific nouns, and they can only be used with singular countable nouns. You can't use it with a plural noun, and you can't use it with a noun that's not countable. I would not say, I shall go swimming in a water. That makes no sense. Now, I could say I want to go swimming in a lake, but see, a lake is countable. You can have multiple lakes. I can say Minnesota has 1,000 lakes. I can't say Minnesota has 1,000 waters. So again, a goes with nouns that start with a consonant sound, and goes with nouns that start with a vowel sound. And that's really all you need to know about articles for the purpose of the GED. Just generally be aware of them. Here's a few pieces of advice about usage. So let's do a little review. Can you identify which part of speech each word is? So here are our words. And if you would like to participate in this activity at home, this would be a great place to pause the video, and you can go through and identify the words and then start back up again when you're ready for the answers. So, what part of speech is himself? We have a pronoun. What about yikes? Yikes, like, yikes, I just got bit by that thing. That would be an interjection. Over, preposition. Elephant, noun. Between, preposition. And, conjunction. Gorgeous, adjective. Looked, verb. Identify, another verb. Because, we have ourselves another conjunction. Somebody, pronoun. That one might have been tricky. And last we have bitterly, and bitterly is an adverb. So, how did you do? How many did you get right? Well, hopefully you found this overview helpful. If you need more help with the parts of speech, you might want to go through the individual lessons that I'll be posting. Our next lesson, part 2, is going to kick off with a good look at the noun.